Are you a personality test junkie like I am? I've looked into Myers-Briggs, 16 personalities, numerology, Enneagrams, Clifton Strengths Finder, and just any other ones that I happen to come across. Anytime I run across a new personality test, I'm just so curious what it's going to say about me and about the people around me. And I do this all in an effort to understand myself better and the people around me. And it's just my curious brain. I deeply believe that focusing on enhancing my strengths rather than working to improve on my weaknesses helps me to do less. It's such a struggle, really an uphill battle for me to do the things that I just don't enjoy doing and that don't come naturally for me. So instead, I'd rather focus on increasing my strengths and doing less by delegating to others the things that I don't like to do and what I'm weak at, just like editing this podcast. Yeah, I definitely don't touch editing this podcast at all. I've tried, but it's not my strength. I know that you've been in this situation, working so hard to turn your weaknesses into your strengths and just doing things that don't feel right and in alignment with who you are. And it's just so uncomfortable. I am Shanice Miller, and welcome to my podcast, Do Less. Yes, that's right, do less. It used to be cool to work 60 hours a week, but the world has gotten smarter and realized why spend more time to make the same or less money. I help small business owners build systems and processes to help them scale and find more time for themselves and their families. I'm going to provide you the best practices and all the tools and tips to scale your business. Welcome to my show. That's why today I'm bringing Shana DeWitt on the show to share her experience on how she's stuck in business by trying to build a business around what worked for other people instead of building a business around her own strengths. Shana DeWitt is a business and mindset coach that helps women take control of their businesses and their finances by creating a signature marketing system to consistently get clients. She helps her clients achieve this by using human design to find the right strategy for each client, which is why I wanted her to share her journey with you. I've been in this situation with listening to what works to other people, knowing it wasn't for me, but trying it anyways, because it worked for the business owners that were where I wanted to be. And you might be in this exact situation right now. So I wanted Shana to share with all of us who might be in this place to understand there's a path out. Shana, I am super, super, super excited that you're on the show today because I've looked up human design in the past and I was always so curious about it. So I just can't wait to hear how this actually helps you do less in your business.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here to get to talk with your listeners all about human design because it really has been just transformational. And I don't think that there are a lot of things that you can honestly say, like, wow, this made a huge difference. But human design is definitely one of those for me.
That's awesome. So could you tell me when was the point for you where you were stuck trying to create a business around what other people told you would work?
I think that this is something that we all experience just because we don't know enough yet. And it doesn't matter how much you know about your own area of expertise. For example, my background is in marketing and branding. So when it comes to graphic design, web design, marketing, like you think, wow, she's got a lot of stuff that she already knows, but it's just not the same when you're trying to apply it to your own business. Part of that is because we get in our heads, we worry that we're failing, we just really beat ourselves up and make it hard. And the other part of it is just you don't know what you don't know. And so what do? We search, right? We think, I don't have enough information. I feel like that's our go to. I don't know enough. And so we go on a search to try to learn all the things. And while this is actually good because you want to learn things, that's good. And you want to try it out and you want to see if it works for you. What happens is that many times we feel like, oh, this is supposed to work for me. And so then if it doesn't work for me, since I don't really know what else to do, then it must be me. There must be something wrong with me. And we get stuck and we don't grow. So we don't look at it as something that we're going to try on. It's a phase, it's a trial and error. we look at it as, what does this mean about me if it doesn't work? And honestly, the chances of something that worked for someone else working exactly the same as you are pretty much slim to none, right?
Well,
It's just not going to work that way.
I always say that when I go onto a Google search, that information that I get from either a post, an article, it's informational, yet it's incomplete. And that's why it doesn't necessarily work for me because you don't get the whole story. Usually, someone wants you to get their course and then they give you the full details of everything. But when we go and we start searching, or whenever I started searching, I would be like, oh, that's a great tip. And I'll try and do it. And I'm like, oh, I'm stuck in these other places because I am definitely missing information. And the clip is supposed to just give you the highlight and not the full shebang.
Right. So the better question is, oh, that's really interesting. How could this work for me?
Yes, I
So
love
it's
those.
really looking at it through a lens and a perspective. And that's where I think human design is such a great tool because it gives you so much information about yourself. And honestly, these are things that you already know, but you think that they're wrong usually. And you feel
That's
like, oh, well, this is something about me that's not right. Like it should be this way and it should be that way. And so human design I mean, I've seen people, clients just start crying because it's so permission giving that there is actually nothing wrong with you. So again, it's like, this is what we know about ourselves. And how do we make these things work for us? It's about giving you a lens so that you're actually crafting your own playbook because you can't buy that from someone else. Like I could give you, I mean, the very best marketing advice that you can get. But if I'm not telling you how to apply it to you and your business and navigating your particular fears and strengths and challenges, then it's just not going to give you the same results. So that is what I really love about human design. For me, the biggest piece of permission giving was around energy. So, one of the things that you can learn about yourself through human design is what kind of energy you have. And for me, I mean this in the most literal of senses as far as capacity goes. So, I am a projector and I have a limited amount of energy. And I have always thought that, like, nobody would think that because I worked my way through college. I worked two, three jobs. I built a business while working a full time job. I had, I'm like always the person that has a million different things going
definitely
on.
sounds like
But
a ton of energy that you have going on over there.
oh no, it does. It does. But most people suffer or that are projectors, they suffer from complete and utter burnout by the time they're in their like late 30s, early 40s.
And you learned this from doing your own human design.
Yes. And I
Oh,
also
wow.
had complete and utter burnout. Like, I'm not really sure what's wrong with me, but I can't physically get out of bed. Like, things have shut down. My body's like, no. So, learning that I'm not wrong. This is the way I'm built because of the things that come really naturally to me, which is being able to look at that 10,000-mile view. My purpose, I'm here to help other people see their greatest potential. And while society usually says, well, your worth is measured by what you do, we think about it in a physical sense. Energetically, you're burning a lot of energy when you're thinking your thought process. Just like creative people, they usually create their proposals based on how much time they're sitting in front of their computer doing the work. They're not accounting for the time that it takes to come up with a creative concept and work through that in their head. So it's kind of the same thing as like, where do you value your time and energy? So for me to shift that from it's all the things that I do versus, that's not the only part of it to really prioritize rest so that I can do the things that I do really well. It was a shifting of priorities that really changed everything for me because, part of having a sustainable business is knowing what your energetic capacity is.
So, I'm speaking of that energetic capacity because I really like that. When you started doing human design, what did you find was a good tweak for you when you were working in your business? What did you find was like that thing? Like you're sitting here, people told you to do it this way, you realize this one specific thing isn't working for you. What was that one specific thing? And then what did human design teach you that you could do instead?
So, really, a lot of it was small things. So, there are small things and big things. Big things, okay, if I'm going to be in my highest power, my greatest self, like whatever you want to call it, then I need to be the leader. I've got to stop being the doer. And
Mm.
in the most obvious sense. I mean, I was burned out and, kind of miserable, right? And so something had to go, and that was it. So it's a question of how can I be in a leadership position instead of doing all the things? So either something's got to go, somebody's got to be hired, there's got to be some type of automation. But then I really, human design, they talk about your experiment. And the idea is that you always want to try different things and you want to see what is going to work for you. And so what I started to notice is, for example, I would love to listen to a book, like find things that I could do on my computer that I could also listen to a podcast or listen to a book because I felt like I was making it more enjoyable. But honestly, that was draining. I could get it done faster and actually feel like I had more energy if I would just sit down and do the thing and not have any other music, anything playing in the background.
Okay, now that sounds so like me. And one of the things you mentioned remind me of this book called Spark by Jonathan Fields. I'm not sure if you've read that or not.
Haven't.
It's a personality test in a book format, but it talked about that, about certain people, and I was the maven. It's all about learning. I was also the scientist. So it's pretty much, the book is about, it helps you discover your unique imprint for work that makes you come alive. And so you have two things that are like your spark categories, and then you have an anti-spark, which like really makes you tired and it wears you down. It's the least likely thing to make you come alive. So that's exactly what I'm hearing, that it's those similarities in human design as well as that book.
If I hadn't learned about human design, I don't think I would have thought about it like that. But it's like, let me just experiment and see how I can have more energy at the end of the day. Like, what is this really going to look like? And it is often these really small things.
So
Just
what were some
taking
of those
it,
other small things?
the other small things. I mean, to me, that one was actually huge. Another one is I would usually work up until the time, right? I'm always just trying to stuff as much time as I can of task before, like in between my time. So I drop my kids off at school in the morning and then I have a workout in the morning and then I have to pick them up. But it's like a really long process. I spend a lot of time in the car picking them up from school, but that is a priority to me. It's like, I want to be the person that picks them up from school. So we do it. But what happens is I only have a max of like 5 hours during the day. And what made a big difference is quitting work just 30 minutes earlier and just doing nothing, like not saying, oh, well, let me throw a load of laundry in. And you know how it is when you work from home, you're like, well, I could like mop the floors really quick
You
or
can
something
start
like that.
cooking dinner.
Like anything, right? If I would just actually stop and then I could listen to a podcast if I wanted to, or music, or just sit, an afternoon meditation, like anything. Quitting work earlier made a huge difference. So it was all those, I don't know, a lot of the times when I would try to multitask or just fill in a pocket, those were the things that were actually making me more drained at the end of the day. So a lot of cutting out, a lot of small tweaks. Projectors have a hard time knowing when enough is enough. And so I'm always asking myself, like, what is enough? Because in our minds, we're usually like, enough just means you're okay, right? But so my mantra lately is enough is enough and that's enough. Like it doesn't have to be better. I can make a to-do list like nobody's business. It's never going to get done. Like I'm never going to check off all the boxes. So it's been a real struggle, but for me right now, the motivation behind it is because I want to feel better, like physically to feel better. My health is a priority. I've got people to take care of. I want to enjoy my life more. And so even at the beginning of the year, thinking about planning, which I love to do, and how
Planning
much
in some
money,
breaks.
yeah, like how much money I was going to make. I felt like I needed to have a number, but I kind of didn't care at the same time. It just wasn't my priority. And that is huge for me because usually it's always I hate to say it, but it's kind of my number one thing, right?
I
It's
think
like,
as a business owner, like we are
yeah,
kind of trained to say, okay, what's your goal? I want to make this money goal. But a lot of times, especially as I am getting older as well, the goal is more so happiness. How can I spend more time doing the things that I really love to do that makes me come alive? So when in going back to that book as well, my first one was a Maven, about learning, just like how you're always liking to learn and enjoy stuff. My second one was the scientist, solving problems and puzzles, which is why setting up systems for people's businesses so they can do less makes me come alive. That's why that's my jam. So I definitely can see how human design has that same tie-in to some of the things that this book was telling me, because it really opened my mind and my eyes up to see that, oh, wow, this is cool. These were things I kind of knew, but it was in more so the back burner.
Yeah.
So, with you saying like where you want to be, it's more happiness, more health. What else, maybe for your business too? Where do you want to be with that, is intertwining with those two?
I mean, business, as far as what business is, I'm in a place where I really like what I have. You know,
Okay.
I have really solid offers. I have really great clients. Like that is all very clear to me, and just bringing more human design into it to help more people and see different ways that I can also help people, because the things that human design can tell you that I use as a coach. So this is how that was a lot about how it applied to me personally, but how it
Well, I
applied
love it
to,
because
yeah.
we want to hear your story of how it
Yeah, I mean,
applied to you.
it's been so amazing. So how that actually applies into clients then is a lot of that permission giving, because that just kind of helps with like mindset and figuring some things like that out. And it's also really great to help you figure out what's the best business model for you, because you do want to take in what you're really good at, and then also what your kind of capacity is, so we can tell you what kind of offers. I've got a client, I always think about them first, but they are a generator and we're starting a brand new business. And I was like, okay, so this is the problem you want to solve. These are like 5 different ways that you could do that. And she said, well, I'm a generator. And I was like, boom, I already know which one of these is going to work. Like, we don't have to waste any more time here. Like, let's get on it. And she was completely booked out in less than 3 months.
Oh, wow. Those are
Okay, so
some really, really amazing results.
yeah, I mean, I 100% believe that human design was a huge part of that, because it just narrowed things down for me. We didn't have to go through stuff and be like, okay, was this going to work? Is this going to work? And it wasn't like what the stuff that she was telling me was like, well, I kind of feel like I should do this. And it was more of like what she thought she should do and what she thought people might buy. And I'm like, no, we can just cut all that out, because that's not going to work for you. Let's just do this. And it did, right? Less than 3 months, from zero clients to fully booked out.
Could
So it
could you
can,
give us some examples of what generators kind of do? Just,
yeah.
what works
So,
for them?
yeah, generally, like I mentioned, for projectors, we are really great at helping people see their greatest potential. So we are, go figure, great coaches. So there, that's a projector. Then you have manifestors who are good at igniting. So they make really good leaders. And then let's see, you have generators, like I just gave you the example of. They're the worker bees. They're meant to do the work, but they love to dig into something and master it. So this particular person, she did analytics for people. Like she would look at all of your analytics and help you, tighten up use your data to market with intention. That's what we came up with for her. But she loved getting in there. She didn't really want to manage people, because there's so many different ways that she could have done it. But generators like to get in and master something. Manifesting generators have a little bit of two different types. And so they're really great at doing the work, multitasking, spinning lots of plates. And then they can also manage and guide other people. So they can kind of be like an in-between person. They're also the people that usually self-identify as multi-passionate.
Mm.
Right. They're the ones that people are like, oh no, that's not going to work for you. You've got to find a niche. What are you doing out here? And then they feel like they're wrong. They're not wrong.
That's
That's,
usually my creative types. It's a lot of creatives that say, "Oh, I just love to do so many different things and I get bored easily." So it sounds like that's that type.
so they could definitely be a manifesting generator. That could possibly be their type. And like using human design too, if they're saying, well, I like to do this and I like to do that and I like to do this, looking at their human design type, you can figure out how to wrap all that into something that they are going to like. And that portion about, oh, well, I get bored. Well, human design can help give you some ideas of like why you get bored. Like, what is it that's missing here that you need to add into your business model, your services, so that you are continuing to feel really engaged in the work that you're doing. Like there's always an answer. So that's why you can't just take what someone else does. And there's a process of figuring out. I always say that your first year of business is like puberty, right? I mean, it kind of sucks, but everybody's got to go through it. That's where you learn so much. And what you don't want to do is be stuck there forever, right? Nobody wants that. So there are ways that you can grow past that, and it doesn't have to be this horrible process. It can be actually very exciting, right? It can be exciting to learn like what you like and what you don't like, and what systems work for you and what systems don't. And it can be an exciting process, or it can feel like hell. I mean, it can be. I mean, really, like there's so many ways that that can go. So those are just a few ways that I think that human design is helpful. So knowing your capacity, really seeing what your superpowers are and understanding them instead of trying to always swim upstream, right? You can create this blueprint that helps you get where you want to be without so much resistance, which is really great. Figuring out your business model, that's a huge one. And marketing, like which marketing tactics are going to work for you. Like everybody wants to talk about how disgusting it is to cold call people, but for a manifester, that's actually a great way for them to get clients.
I'm glad that you actually said that, because everyone used to say like, oh, you can get a lot of good clients from going to conferences. Conferences drain me. I would be dreading them before. I'm like, oh, what I'm going to wear, got to go there, who I'm going to talk to. And I was just like, okay, I know that that was something everyone recommended. Like you're talking about cold calling, that was another thing. And I was just like, no, that's just not me. I need to stop doing this. I need to set up a system that can do it for me, hire someone, delegate, automate, all those things. So it really sounds like you're telling everyone, if they're struggling and experiencing a painful time in business, whether it's with just getting clients or doing work that drains them, they can all ask, how can I do less in this area, and get a human design consultation with you, or even try grabbing a copy of the book Sparked. It's just really going to be helpful. And of course, come see me to set up systems in your business so you never have to do the things that you don't like to do, or that's not a good fit for you to do again. So Shana, if someone wants to learn more about you, what you do, how they can get your help with human design services, how can they find you?
Well, you can find me at my website. It's shanadewitt.com, SHANADEWITT. I'm also on Instagram at Shana_DeWitt. And I have a Facebook group called The Magnetic Entrepreneur. So we talk about how to attract clients. Human design is definitely one of those ways. And I have a free gift for you all. So if you go to the show notes for this episode, I've got a free human design masterclass. So it's about the different types of human design. So a little bit about human design, and then how to use your type to grow your business. And you can also get a link in there to get a free reading. So if you're not really sure what your type is, you can find that out super easy. You can also grab a totally free consultation that's 30 minutes where we talk about your human design type and how to apply what we learned to your business.
Oh, that's so great. Thank you so much for coming on. It has been such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, listeners, please be sure to subscribe to the show, leave a rating and a review.